Welcome folks back to Random Rod Shop. This week we're going to get back on the International pickup. Alright, so we get a side view of this thing. Now that the front, the inner bed is cut off, I think that looks pretty good. Probably going to be a two-part video. I don't know yet. Depends on how well things work out. Primarily what I'm concerned with today is to try to figure out where the cut measurements are. The Tahoe kick-up in the back is more than the International pickup, so we're going to have clearance the bed floor. That's not my focus right now. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to get the length right so that it looks like it was made to be there. So the first step is to figure out where the center line of the International rear axle is. And you can kind of see I've got this set up. I wanted to come off of the bed sides, right? And you know, these old pickups, the bed rails are kind of they've been beat up over the years. So I've got a couple of squares clamped down on here. I've got a 4x4 that's pretty straight that goes between the two, and then I've just dropped a straight edge down. And so the idea is just, okay, let's do the best we can. You got to do this. You got to do this to both sides. And generally speaking, you're not going to get the same measurement on both sides. And that's what happened here. Just eyeballing the center line on this side. The first time I did it, I got 57 and 7/16 from the front edge of the bed to the center line of the axle. On the other side, I got 57 and 5/8. Sorry, on the other side, I got 57 3/4. So I went back and forth, and what I settled on is 57 and 5/8. That's where I'm gonna set the center line of the rear axle at 57 and 5/8 from the front edge of the bed along this body line. The reason I'm specifically calling out the body line is that this front edge isn't straight. I don't believe. I'm looking at it here. Maybe it is. Let's see here. Well, that's an optical illusion. That front edge is straight. That's going to make this a whole lot easier. Well, that's exciting. Okay. Anyway, 57 and 5/8 inches from the front edge to the center line of the wheel. Then I went over and spent some time with the Tahoe trying to figure out from the cab to the center line of the Tahoe rear axle, what is that distance? And I also measured from multiple points to make sure the cab was on there square. Kind of happy we must have got the cab mounts pretty close, because the cab is less than an 1/8 inch out. It's like a 1/16 of an inch out, and for these old pickups, that's good enough. So when I measured the Tahoe, I've got 42 and 7/8 from the back of the cab to the center line of the rear axle. Now, I like to set up a 3/4 inch gap between the front of the bed and the back of the cab. I think that catches you up to where I'm at this point. I'm going to do some taping and some more marking, and I'll get back to you. Okay, folks, we're back. The number you need from the front of the bed to the cut line is 15 and 5/8. I'm going to take you off. I think I've got this. Figured out. So the way this International bed is put together, the box is independent of the bed sides. That's pretty interesting. Obviously, I haven't done a lot of Internationals, so this is all new to me. So, but this box, and you can see the bed sides here, and then you got the wheel wells, and then you got the bed floor. That's all one piece. These bed sides get spot welded to the bed itself. So along here, and that's it. So at the end, if you cut those spot welds out, you can literally take off the bed side and you don't actually have to cut any of the bed itself. Now we're going to end up cutting the bed, but that sure keeps everything together while you're trying to figure out, you know, trying to get your cuts all straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a spot weld cutter. I'm going to find these spot welds in here, get those drilled out. This apparently has had some damage before. You can see that someone's already been here. They've cut out the original spot welds and looks like just gas welded the bed back in. So at some point this thing's had some damage. I'll have to get a grinder and I'll have to cut these gas welds out. But when that's done, and I guess cut these two spot welds, when that's done, this piece and the bed side will be loose from the bed itself. So all it's left for me to do is go ahead and make a cut. And I've got two pieces of tape. I put one piece of tape down, then I get a fine ink pen and actually make as precise measurements as I can. And then I lay a second piece of tape down so that I can actually define the edge of where I need to cut. Now in this case I need to make sure that I cut to the left side of that tape right there. So the cutoff wheel will go, you know, will be right there. I want to leave that leading edge of that tape, right? That will give me a cut of 15 5/8 inches, which is what I need so that I end up with a 3/4 inch gap between the front of the bed and the Tahoe. Now what I think I'm going to do up here is I'm going to take a cutoff wheel and I'm going to cut right along this bend line right here. All right, so when I'm done, this section will come out, this section will be loose, and I should be able to take this section right here and just slide it back and put it right here. So it'll look kind of funny initially, right? So the bed side's going to end here, but the bed itself is going to end up here. But that would allow me to get the bed sides cut, get them positioned, and then I can figure out what I'm going to do with the bed itself. The issue that I'm sort of having is the cut line is inside that bead roll right there. So if I cut it right there, I don't know, it's kind of going to look goofy, right? Let me get up in the bed so I can show you a little better. So on the International bed, you know, there's a flat section here, then there's a bead roll. This is actually where the spare tire mounts. You stick a bolt down in there and you put a wing nut on it and that holds the spare tire. But if I make the cut right here, that goes through this bead line, which means when I try to weld the front on there, I'm going to have a gap where this bead is. So probably what I'm going to do when I start working on the bed is probably going to have to make a couple of cuts. I'm probably going to cut this piece out and move it back here so that I have a flat section to weld the front of the bed in. Now on the bed floor, maybe I should be a little more worried, but I'm not really worried about the bed floor. I'll just whack off the front of it or take a section out. It's not that big a deal. All right, so I'm gonna start grinding and cutting here. I'll put you on time lapse. We'll see how that goes. I'll get back with you. Okay, we got her cut off. That actually worked really, really well. So you notice I just trimmed off the top. I'll come back in here and I'll cut the second. Cut that top layer off. Maybe. Given I'm gonna cut the bed, it may not matter, but we'll see. I also left the lip on the side of this. Right, I left the lip on the side of this. I'm going to take that off because when I fit it back up in here, it'll be the thickness of the sheet metal off. What I really want to do is to put it back where it was, and as you can see, that's actually going to this may be the easiest bed shortening I've ever been involved with. It looks like that these bead rolls right here, I'm gonna have to grind those out, right, so that this will lay flat against the bedside. But that doesn't look like a big problem. Let's look at it from the side and see what this bed looks like. Let me get it pushed back up on here. Well, that's one way to get it done. So let me back up. Well, that's not too shabby. Okay, guys. Well, you know, everything about YouTube is a learning experience. The camera got hot and the camera died. So what I've got is I've cleaned up the panel and I'm getting ready to fit it in there. So it looks like I need to change a battery in the camera. I'll get back with you and I'll put it on, you know, fast motion thing, and we're going to weld this thing up. Okay guys, you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to finish welding this up and then I'll turn you back on. Okay, well, I finished the welding. This video is getting a little long, so I think we're going to close out the video here. I'm going to take the camera off and kind of pan it around and show you where we're at. And next time, we're going to weld the bed together and try to get it set on the Tahoe. So let me grab the camera and I'll walk you around. All right, so we get a side view of this thing. Now that the front, the inner bed is cut off, I think that looks pretty good. We got both corners welded. All right, we got both corners welded. I haven't welded the inner bed to the bed sides, and as you can see, what I did was I just cut out where the bead rolls were. I'll come back in here and cut little patches, fill that in, and then we'll weld the bed side to the inner bed. Let me show you the other side. So, almost got it all welded. Both of them, I still need to grind both of them and go back over them and fill in the pinholes, and you know. Same story on this side. Got to weld in little patches and then weld the bed side to the bed. On the bed itself, you can see I've already cut the bed itself. Let me walk you over here and show you that piece. I'm gonna flip this over. All right, so there's the bed, the piece of the bed I cut off. Let me back up a little bit. So what I need from this bed at this point is I need front of the bed, I need this support, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the bed supports off. Don't know if I need those, but my plan is to try to pull this bed, the bed front, and this support, and the cab mounts, all as one piece. Now to do that, we need to drill out all these spot welds along here, and we need to drill out the spot welds that hold the bed to that bracket. I'm gonna flip it back over, make a lot of noise here. I'm gonna flip it back over. So now you can see the spot welds. All right, so the spot welds here, 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 here. Yep, they're all along there. I need to get those broke loose. If I do that, then the cab mount, or sorry, the bed mount, this front support, and the front of the bed will all come up apart, as a single piece. My plan right now is not to separate the front of the bed, which is spot welded here, to this bracket. Right? My plan is not to separate that at this point. We'll see. At this point, I forgot one thing. And I don't, this is more of a curiosity to me than anything else. It's interesting, when I made my cut on the bed, right? And if you think about it, this is the same cut I made on the bed sides, right? You take 15 and 5/8 inches out of one side, out of the bed side. You got to take 15 and a half, 5/8 inches out of the floor. So this is the same cut. This is the same cut that I made on the bed sides. I thought it was curious that that cut was right at the front edge of that support. It's another indication to me that they used, the International had some commonality on their stampings between their long beds and short beds. So this would have been this brace would have been added if you made a long bed. And this cab mount, if you think about it, would have been right here on a short bed. So it would have been sorry, I said cab mount. This bed mount would have been right here, right? Effectively, it's what I'm trying to do, right? So I don't know, just being geeky there. So I think we're going to end the video here. The next video, hopefully we're going to get this thing put together and at least trying to put it on that Tahoe over there. So I want to thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you next time.